This video will show you how to replace the engine mount bracket on a Pontiac Grand Prix. This will be on the passenger side front of your engine. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. Locate the engine mount bracket along the front of the engine. Now as you can tell on our application, ours is damaged. Either way, the removal process will be the same. As far as the removal, we're starting at the mounting bolt between the bracket and the torque strut mount. We'll use a 15mm for each side of the hardware. There's my mounting nut. Now obviously this mounting bolt should be sliding out through both sides of the bracket and that torque strut mount. There's our bolt, a thorough inspection. Now since mine is broken, I'm just going to remove these and dispose of them properly. Typically they still would be in place. Let's move towards the other end of the torque strut mount next. Now as we move to this area, we're using the same tools, a 15mm for each side of the hardware. You do not need to fully remove this unless you want to. Typically if you loosen it, you could lift it up enough to be able to gain access to the rest of the hardware. Once you have it loose enough that you can move it, we're paying attention back at the bracket. Now if you were looking at the engine mount bracket, we can see that we have another metal bracket that leads all the way down this area. There's a 15mm bolt right here. There's one on the other side. Now as I make my way down along the bottom, there's going to be a mounting nut. This mounting nut is a 13mm. Let's start there. Now let's make our way to the upper hardware. There's our first bolt. Once I remove it, typically I like to start it back in just a couple threads. Now I'll move my way over towards the next mounting bolt along the top. We're holding the bracket. Go ahead and remove that mounting bolt we started in a couple threads and remove the bracket from the area. Just a quick inspection of that, we can set it aside. Now we need to remove the upper engine cover. This can simply be done by taking hold of the oil fill tube. We'll be turning that counterclockwise. Now we'll take hold of the forward side of the engine cover, lift it up, and carefully pull it away from the rearward bracket. It slides right out. We'll set that aside. As far as the rest of the removal of the bracket, there's going to be two more 13mm headed mounting bolts. One is going to be out in the open over here. We'll just carefully pull the wiring harness out of the way. We can see it down here. The second one's going to be inside this area. Let's start with this first mounting bolt on the outboard side. I'll use my 13mm. On to the next. Now we can lift up on this wiring harness. We're moving towards the other side of the bracket, 13mm here as well. Now to remove this bolt, I'm just going to remove it with the bracket and we can slide it out of position. Now before we install our brand new part, let's make sure we clean and inspect our mounting area. We're starting up along the top. We want to pay attention to where each one of our pieces of hardware would sit. We have one port over here. Just going to use a wire brush, and the other one's over in this far corner. Of course, a thorough inspection. Now we'll look down at that stud. All right, let's get ready to install that brand new engine mount bracket. We'll lift up on the engine mount torque strut, slide the bracket into place. We have our two pieces of upper hardware. The smaller of the two bolts would be on the inboard side. The longer bolt would be on the outboard side. Let's go ahead and start in each piece of hardware prior to tightening either. I'm going to start with the inboard bolt here, just in case we have to shift the bracket around. That bolt is started in. I'm going over to the outboard bolt next. Once they're both started in, we can snug them up. Now, since I can't get a torque wrench in this area, I'm going to bottom it out and make sure it's snug. Okay, right there is bottomed out. Just take it a tiny bit further there. Same process for the next. Right there is bottomed out. Just a tiny bit further there as well. Now, as far as the forward bracket, the lower port needs to slide over the stud. We'll lift up on our torque strut, slide it in a position here. On the top, we have the area for our 2 mounting bolts. Go ahead and start in each of those 2 mounting bolts. Now we can tighten those up, and I'm going to torque them to 35 foot-pounds. Let's go ahead and torque those down. All the way down at the bottom. And start on this mounting nut as well. Okay, let's snug it up. We'll make sure that's tight. I'm going to be torquing that to 30 foot-pounds. Now we have the through bolt, which will go through the engine bracket, through the torque strut, and out through the other side. On the inboard side, we have our mounting nut. Once we have this started through, bottom it out, and then we're going to torque it to 37 foot-pounds. Now you may find that it doesn't properly align. You could carefully rock the engine in either direction. Just take hold of it, wiggle it as necessary. Onto the forward mounting bolts next. I'm going to torque this bolt to 35 foot-pounds. Now we can install our upper engine cover. Looking along the back side of the engine compartment, this is where we can see a small metal bracket. If you were looking at that engine cover, you can see one locating tab that will slide into that bracket port. Once you have that in place, continue on rolling it down along the front. We want to expose the port leading into the engine. After exposing that, it's time to install the oil fill tube. We're starting at an angle like this, and we'll rotate it clockwise until it's completely bottomed out. Double check to make sure it's secured in place.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.